Hello everybody, welcome back to Access Blockbusters and welcome to a quick immediate non-spoiler reaction to episode 4 of Skeleton Crew. But guys, if you are looking for a more in-depth spoiler discussion, have no fear, we are going to be posting our in-depth spoiler discussion later on in this week in the next episode of the Access Blockbusters pod. So if you're interested in that, make sure to subscribe, give this video a like, and let me know in the comments down below what you thought of episode 4. And let's get into it. There will be no spoilers in this reaction. Let's go. So, just to give a little bit of context before we dive in, I have loved this show. This show has been just amazing, and it's been so different from other shows that I've loved in the past year. I think even a show like Penguin, for example, where I just thought the intrigue was amazing, the writing was amazing, the characters were amazing, but obviously it's not a show where you fall in love with the characters because they are all pretty much morally reprehensible. Even Vic, as a character, for example, he made a dark turn towards the end. But anyways, all that to say, this is a different kind of show because this is a show that, like many of my all-time favorite shows, my comfort shows, I have fallen in love with these characters. And what that does for me as an audience member is, and me personally, just me as a human being, my personal taste is that it gives the show way longer of a leash, honestly. And that's what I found to be true in this episode. Look, this episode, if it were happening in another show in the Star Wars universe, say in Mandalorian, for example, because Mandalorian, if you guys have watched my channel for a while, you know that I had my complaints with Mandalorians, even seasons 1, 2, and 3, because I just thought a lot of the show was kind of fillery. You know, I thought a lot of the show had promise, but there were just episodes where they were just kind of going off-world and doing random things. And this episode, to be fair, is kind of in that same mold. I mean, this episode, and again, I mean, it's what TV shows do, but this episode, they kind of get diverted somewhere, and then they do something else, and then they all kind of get back to the eventual story later on. Not to spoil anything, but that's just the general premise of most episodes of an adventure show. And this episode, I think, in a different universe, I would have complained big time about, because I'm not a huge fan of these filler episodes. But like I mentioned before, these characters have given this show way longer of a leash than I think any other Star Wars shows, because I love these characters and I can watch these characters do all sorts of things. I can watch them literally do anything. And I mean, some of the things in this episode for sure, not the hugest fan of, and I think that some parts dragged a little bit. And yes, some parts were probably a little cringy, if not for the fact that these kids are so cute. One character arc in this episode in particular, I was just like, oh, I can't get mad at anything that's going on here because it's just so cute. I know it's subjective, and I know that some of you probably dislike the episode, some of you probably love the episode, but I think that that's just part of it. You know, I think that the characters really provide a big part of why I love this show. On top of that, though, there are still some really interesting story things going on here, some revelations and some things that make you go, oh, interesting. Especially towards the end of this episode, you kind of go, interesting. I wonder what that could be setting up. And it doesn't feel cheap. It doesn't feel like the Luke Skywalker thing at the end of episode 7 where, you know, it's a literal cliffhanger. It's like, oh, that's interesting. I can't wait to find out more. Again, maybe I'm just biased because I am still on board with the show. Probably my least favorite episode, even though I still really liked it. I just thought, again, just great characters, and I can watch them pretty much on any side adventure, at least for a little while, because again, longer leash for this show. And also the Daniels directed this, by the way, and you know, Everything Everywhere All at Once was obviously what made them famous, and this episode has some pretty inventive techniques in there, especially towards the end. There's some fun stuff in there that I liked a lot. So anyways, I enjoyed this episode. Again, not my favorite out of the 4, but that's okay. I'm still loving this show. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this episode. Again, make sure to subscribe to the Access Blockbusters YouTube channel if you're interested in the spoiler discussion later on in the week, and I will see you guys in the next one.